Time for the business news with Nicholas Poynton, who joins me now in the studio. Nicholas, we've got a tale I'm picking of two halves here, two very different half-year results showing, the experiences of retailers during this pandemic. What have you got for us?
Yeah, we've got some interesting results indeed. These are half-year results from the Briscoes group and restaurant brands that came out today. And what they tell us is that New Zealanders have more of an appetite through the first 6 months of the year for sporting and home goods than they actually do for fast food. And this is reflected in the results. Briscoes group, they also own Rebel Sport. They managed to post a half-year profit of $28 million. That's almost in line. It's only down about $300,000 for the result for the half last year. And what they're saying is that during the lockdown, yes, they did experience a significant slump in sales, but during level 4, they were allowed to still continue to sell essential items online. These are things like heaters or warm clothing and the like. And they say that when they went to level 3 and then to level 2, they saw a swift rebound in sales, and this was supported by pent-up demand. People weren't really able to spend much of their money during lockdown, and also cooler weather. People were pretty cold coming out of lockdown apparently, and they were looking to buy warmer clothes.
And people were baking like Topsy as well, and they sell all sorts of kitchen products and all the rest of it. It was muffin and scone central.
You can imagine they were pretty well set up for people during lockdown. Also, people picking up sports and things like that during lockdown. Well, you compare this with restaurant brands. They own KFC, Pizza Hut, Carl's Jr., Taco Bell. They actually posted their half-year net profit was down 40% to $10 million for the year, as they say they lost about $10 million a week during alert level 4 lockdown. They say they couldn't trade until we got to alert level 3, and even then it was just takeaways. They couldn't really get all those people coming through the restaurant, sitting up there, maybe going up for another item. They missed out there, and they say the figure would have been worse if they didn't receive that $22 million in government wage subsidies. They say that money did allow them to retain 100% of its staff, which is probably a pretty good sign. And they say despite the hit they experienced during lockdown, that they are now trading above levels seen last year, and they've got a pretty positive outlook. They say they're going to open a total of 4 new stores. It's 2 new KFCs and 2 new Taco Bells by the end of their current financial year.
Okay. Let's turn to IRD now, which is sort of suggesting it's going to start going after crypto investors who aren't meeting their tax obligations. Now, this is interesting. How are they going to do that?
Yeah, so I know cryptocurrency, it's one of those topics that sort of confuse many and sort of intrigue a few. But look, this is the reason why this is interesting, given the implications that IRD is laying out. They've put out some new guidelines about how they're going to tax people who have crypto assets. Currently, cryptocurrencies, there's no specific tax regime that encompasses them. They're very unique. So currently, they're treated as property. That's how, for tax purposes. So these new guidelines aim to sort of set out to people how they're expected to pay tax on crypto assets that they're buying, trading, selling, mining, and the like. And it also gives them a bit of a heads up on how they should calculate the value of their assets in New Zealand dollars. I spoke to a lawyer from Bell Gully today. They're an expert in tax and also have a bit of an interest in cryptocurrencies, and they say that these guidelines they help. They're giving people a lot more a lot more advice in this area. But there's still a lot more work to be done, because cryptocurrencies, for people who do know a little bit about them, they are a rapidly evolving area of technology and finance. And the issue is that legislation is always struggling to keep up with pace. But the interesting thing that this legal expert said was that he read this new announcement from IRD as a signal that they are going to start taking a lot more interest in these particular assets and the tax that people are or are not paying on them.
Well, the interesting thing about that is, how do they know you've even got them? Because the tax person can see you've got a house or you're driving a particular car if it's assessing assets, but how do they even know that you've got a stash of Bitcoin somewhere?
These are all interesting things. I guess we'll be paying a lot of attention now to all the future comments to come out of IRD about this, because it is in a way, it is kind of exciting to see how they're going to approach this, to see how they're going to ensure that people are meeting those obligations in the future.
Yeah, getting ahead of the ball, so to speak. Okay, so what else was happening on the markets for us today?
Yeah, today the NZX Top 50 is up by about 1/3%, by about 36 points to 11,895. Our dollar is at 66.8 US cents, 91.8 Australian and 50.8 British pence, and gold is down by about $2.50 to $1,926 US an ounce.
Thanks, Nicholas. Nicholas Poynton with our business wrap.